Hi, I'm Kevin Beach from TCI Engineering. I'm in the tech department here. Today we're going to go over the assembly of the 55-9 Chevrolet grounded chassis, and the assembly of all the components is virtually identical on the 48 through 56 Ford pickup. So your chassis will arrive, as you see it here, bare steel. It's fully plumbed with all the brake lines and air lines. You'll get two pallets of components, the larger being the chassis. The smaller will be the rear end, your rack, sway bar, your brakes, calipers, spindles, etc. Be sure to unpack all the boxes and check everything out. Commonly, the front sway bar is in the box with the rack and pinion. And you can see we've got quite a few of the pieces laid out here for you on the grounded chassis with the airbag system. Let's put the brake pedal assembly on. So we've got the brake rod here. This is a left-right thread. So first thing I'm going to do is thread it on to the power booster right here. All right, I'm going to set that down on the chassis for now. So here's the pedal assembly. You've got what we call a pivot pin right here in the center. This is the bolt. Not a bad idea to put some anti-seize on this because the pedal will pivot on that. So go ahead, slide this into the chassis. There we go. Take your bolt. Then line that up, let that come down. Put the nut on. And then next up we'll put the hardware in that connects the push rod to the pedal. All right, here's your fastener for your brake pedal push rod. Let's go ahead and put this in. This is going to go behind the brake pedal, like so. All right, now we'll tighten both bolts and that will be done. All right, so at the start of this process we talked about how this rod was left-right hand thread. The reason it's like that is so once you put your cab on and you want to set your brake pedal correctly, you just spin the entire push rod. You can see how it's changing the adjustment of the pedal arm itself. So that's what we're doing there. So once you're ready to set that up, you're just going to adjust this push rod until the pedal's where you want it, and then be sure and tighten these lock nuts when you're done. All right, so here we have all the componentry for the rear suspension. We've got our sway bar, our 4-link bars. These are the brackets that are going to secure our 4-link bars to the frame. We've got the panner bar. These are the arms that are going to go from the sway bar to the differential housing. Our airbags up there, shock absorbers, air lines, and brake lines. So let's get started on the assembly. All right, as we're getting started with the 4-link assembly in the rear, so start by screwing the adjusters all the way in on the 4-link bars. We'll make those as short as possible and make sure they match in length. Just like we talked about at the front, we want to make sure these bushings are thoroughly greased before you install them. So go ahead and grease those, and then when you're done with that, we've got our 2 long bolts and the plate. We're going to slide that through. And I'm going to go ahead and put both arms together right now. And then we're going to slide the inner plate into place. And then set these up to the frame. And you will have to work them into position slowly, a little bit on each one. Now move to the other side and repeat that process. Okay, so we're going to stop short of seating these because we need to have room to put the bolts or the nuts on the inside here. So leave enough clearance to get the washer and the nut started.
Just off camera. I can't see that.
And then we can go ahead and tighten these down and pull it into place. Okay, so you can see we've set the rear end housing on a floor jack here. Make it a little bit easier to get under the chassis and raise it up into place. So just begin by raising it up and doing a rough alignment. This would be handy to have a friend helping out, but you can also get the rear end reasonably into place and then set it on two jack stands and slide it from there. So now that I've got the rear end close, I'm leaving the floor jack in place because if you take it out, the weight of the pinion will spin the rear end straight down and we won't be able to get it connected to the 4-link bars. Now use the jack stands to get the rear end into position that will make it easier to get the 4-link bars into the rear end brackets. Now I can get enough roll out of it to get the bolts started. Lower bolts into the 4-link. Rotate the rear end as you need to get the bolt to line up. Try and lift the entire weight to rotate it. We'll get that started and we'll go do the other side. Here we go. This is the hardware pack for the upper 4-links at the rear. So the first thing I'm going to do is start the nut onto one end. Put this into position, rock the rear end back. And like I said, this is a job that does go better with two people, but it can be done. Let's do this. There we go. And there's the half nylock for the outer. And that is how that goes together. We'll tighten up the assembly after we do the other side. If you need to, you can adjust the 4-link bar a half or one full turn to help with getting the last bolt to align. Okay, this is our hardware to install the rear bags. Notice we've got the two push lock air fittings. We're not going to use these. We're going to use the regular tapered fitting with a pipe thread just like we did on the front. So let's go ahead and get the pipe dope on there and get these installed in the bag. So we've got a little bit of angle on here. We want the hose to be able to clear the bracketry. Go ahead and slide the bag into the mount, just like so. You got your 3/8 hardware right here. Get those started in place.
Clearance. I don't want to sure.
Okay, so I've jacked the rear end up a little bit. The easiest way to get the bag connected is just simply pull down on the bag. And it will extend just like that. And we can put the bolt in through the bottom. Install the bolt underneath. And we'll move to the other side. Be sure and add some pipe dope onto the threads for the airline. So I've got all the fittings doped up. Let's go ahead and put the airlines on. Start with the top. And then we'll feed this through to the bottom. We'll go do the other side. Put the rear shocks on. We've got an indicator of which way is up. This is our shock bolt. They're actually the same length, top and bottom, but with different spacers. We'll put our bolt in, spacer in place, washer that's going to go up against the bushing. And we're going to use a half nylock on top. And then for the lower, we've got, like I said, same size bolt, washer against the head. I'm going to put a second washer on the bushing. The longer spacer goes to the bottom. That through, washer and your nylock nut. And we'll tighten everything up and move to the other side. Hey. Here's the hardware for the panner bar, button head bolts, half nylocks, and washers. Here's the panner bar itself. Let's go ahead and get her installed. All right, let's get the panner bar installed here. I'm going to start with the center hole because we do have some adjustment available to us. There we go. So this doesn't reach right now, so we'll go ahead and just turn the bar and adjust it until we lengthen it out. Get the holes to line up. This is just our initial setup. We will center the rear end with the panner bar later. Okay, let's center the rear end. We measure from the frame rail here right to the backing plate. That's right at 7 inches. I'm going to go to the other side and see how that compares. Just a little bit long on this side. Okay, one more check on this side. A little bit more. And we're good. So once you've got your rear end centered, next would be when your air system is done, your final check on this will be with the vehicle at ride height. You want your bar to be as level as possible and recheck the spacing on the rear end to make sure it's still centered on the chassis at ride height. Here we have our sway bar hardware, our link arms, the actual Heim links, the sway bar itself. So we'll go ahead and get started with the install. The first thing we're going to do is put the sway bar into the chassis itself. Next up, we're going to put our nylon split bushings on. Just slide those on, slide those into the frame. There we go. There we are. Next up, we're going to put our gold washer on. It backs up that bushing. Then we can set our arm in place. The countersunk edge is going to face inboard. Okay. Start with that.
And go.
Okay. So you see we've got that bar connected. We're laying on the differential housing. We're going to use that as our initial alignment because these do have to be in the same spline, both left and right. And there we go. You can see they're both touching the housing. The countersunk hole's facing inboard. We'll center the bar up, and then we'll put our fasteners on that pinch this onto the spline bar. This button head is what clamps the arm onto the bar. Simply slide that through. Put a washer under your nylock and connect that together. All right, let's go ahead and put the sway bar links in place. So we're going to use our long countersunk bolt. Comes in from the back side. We have a 1-inch spacer. We'll go ahead and put the link on here. Drop it down, put it onto the 4-link bolt. We have your 2 AN washers and your 2 nylock nuts. So go ahead and put all that in place. All right, rear sway bar, same as the front. We want to make sure that the heim joint is adjusted so that it'll go on there freely and it doesn't preload the bar. And that slides on very nice, so no adjustment needed. Go ahead and put the rest of the hardware in place, and we will tighten everything up. This is your rear brake line kit. This is the adapter. If you have drum brakes, this will go right here into your wheel cylinder and convert that to a -3, and we'll hook up the braided lines. So take the plug out of the wheel cylinder. If you have the optional disc brakes, use the proper provided fittings to make your brake line connections. Tighten this down into the wheel cylinder. Let's connect the brake line. And we'll go ahead and do the chassis side. Go ahead and repeat that process on the other side and tighten all of your fittings and brake lines. Okay. All right, just like the front, we have bump stops for the rear. There's a threaded hole right here in your frame. So go ahead and screw these into place. If you want to, you could put a little blue Loctite on there and get them up tight as you can. That way they'll stay there, because obviously there's no place to put a wrench on these, but just squeezing them down against their own rubber surface will probably hold them. But a little bit of blue Loctite can't hurt. All right, let's go ahead and tighten the jam nuts here on your sway bar links, both sides. All right, for those of you with the 48 to 56 Ford truck, we're going to do the running board brackets. So they're the same front and rear. We've got the hardware here. We use a socket head cap screw, lock washer, flat washer. So go ahead and put those together, and we will install the running board bracket on the truck. I'm going to switch sides so you can have the bolt on that side. Okay. The nuts are already welded into the frame for you. Just get the bolt started. And you can see these holes are slotted, so you'll be able to adjust these. So once you've got the front one on, you've got your 4 holes back here. To do the second bracket, go ahead and repeat that on the remaining running board brackets. Thanks for watching part 2 of the 48 through 56 Ford and 55 to 59 Chevrolet grounded chassis assembly. Thank you very much for purchasing TCI products. As the original purchaser of our products, you're covered by our dual warranty. So you have a 6-year, 60,000-mile warranty on all of your wear parts such as tie rod ends, ball joints, rack and pinion, rack boots, etc. And then all of the TCI manufactured parts have lifetime warranty. So no matter what you need, we've got you covered. Wherever you are in your assembly process on your project, we're here for you at Tech Support. You can always email us at techsupport@totalcostinvolved.com or call us on our Tech Support phone line.